What is that? I just got this hair going straight up. Are we on? Yeah, probably. Hmm, okay. In a minute before we go on, and then we will launch it. Okay. Hope you're having a good day today. It's really pretty out. Hi, I'm Nan Simonson, and I am on day 5 of a 6-day challenge. It's part of my strongest belief system, and that is that we can take control of our own health and control our health, and therefore our the most important part of our destiny, and that is our ability to live our life in full freedom of that good health, feeling well, being able to be mobile can give us. And we can do that. I'm doing that at 70, knock on wood. I'll do it for the next 2 to 3 decades. And that is by embracing a full range of, I'll call it the pillars of lifestyle, that are put out by the College of Lifestyle Medicine. I'm a health and wellness coach, health and lifestyle coach, with Dr. Deisinger's lifestyle medical practice here in Riverside, California. We have an office in Redlands. And I wrote my book, Aging Powerfully, with 10 precepts of lifestyle as medicine. The word powerfully was broken up into an acronym, and each letter represents the pillars of lifestyle medicine, and then some others that were brought up by Dan Buettner in his Blue Zones book, Dr. Kelly Turner in her Radical Remission book about cancer patients who healed themselves in spite of terminal diagnoses by lifestyle choices. And Linda, it's always good to see you. Hello. So today I'm on day 6. I'll remind you of the 6 pillars that we're referring to. They are eat more plants. The College of Lifestyle Medicine is completely science-based in what they recommend, and they recommend a whole food, plant-based diet as closely followed as possible. And that may mean simply increasing your fruits and vegetables and grains and legumes by 10% a day, 50% a day, 80% a day. That may mean having a plant-only meal once a day or all day, every day. That may mean doing what I do, which I've done for nearly 3 years now, and that is eating no animal product, whatever, and only fruits and vegetables, grains and legumes, seeds and nuts. And my husband does the same, and at 70, I'm healthier than ever. Honestly, I feel so good and so energetic. And it's the food. It's the food, and it's the other lifestyle modalities. So they include eat more plants, and those were my challenges. And then I gave some bullet points, and you'll find those on my Facebook page. You're going to be seeing this put together on YouTube, and I'm even doing a few talks to organizations, and I'll be using this material. Love more, which means keep the importance of your community uppermost in your mind. Sleep well. Without that, our body doesn't work. Keep moving. Without that, our body doesn't work. And again, bullet points on each one of those with my conversation, which I'm trying to keep to 20 minutes. As a sort of an overall on these particular bullet points, and then some others. Like yesterday, I had all kinds of things to say that were even over and above the bullet points. And then today is stay calm. What does that heading represent? It means de-stress. this has been such a year and a half or more, hasn't it? We've not had anything like this in our lives, and we've gotten into, some people, into a kind of a mental frame, a frame of mind that has put us into chronic stress. We are paying a lot of attention to what we don't like, and the seems like the world has become somewhat divided, not somewhat, very, into groups of people not liking different things. And it's really hard uh, to stay positive. And staying calm, de-stressing has a lot to do with staying positive. It has a lot to do with gratitude. So I'm going to go through my notes with you, and then we'll see if there's time to talk about some other things. I will repeat that eating a healthy diet, getting enough sleep, having regular exercise, remembering to stay close to the people who are close to you, or be sure to be connected to a community. Those things will help you de-stress. In addition to that, there's a practice that I just recently became familiar with, and it's the practice of intermittent silence. I do intermittent fasting. In other words, I don't eat from a certain time, usually 6:30 at night, not another morsel of food until the next morning, usually at 8:30. Today, I went from 6:30 at night to 12:30. So that was quite a long fast, and it was very, very comfortable, and it kind of helps your body reboot. It doesn't it has been proven. Studies that are backed by hundreds of thousands of people, it has been proven to help our bodies reboot. Anyway, so I do that. Well, intermittent silence is something similar to that, in that during, well, the recommendation is that during your post lunch or post dinner walk, and I hope you do one or both of those, it's a really good way to help your digestion. You remain silent, nothing listened to, nothing spoken. Even if you're with somebody, you go into the silence, observe the world around you, hear things around you, but don't participate in that, for a goal of at least 10 minutes during that intermittent silence or more. Um, it's like pressing the pause and on the regular programming of your day and allowing your brain to rest. It's like a reboot for your brain, because things are so congested as we allow emotions, busyness, stress to enter there. Hi, Linda. Oh, that is you writing. Okay, Linda was saying, I feel so much better when I have a long fast. I agree. I've done, what, five-day fasts, but that's another subject. But yeah, that's like quieting the body. This is quieting our mind right now, but some of the same precepts. So practice, I want to challenge you today to practice at least once, if not twice, a 10-minute silence practice. But go out where there is sound, like take a walk, and just simply not talk. Go out into nature and not talk and not listen to anything overt. And in other words, like I'm listening to podcasts all the time. That would be a break for me. I have to learn to let my mind just be quiet, because I'm so used to always having information coming in that way. And some people leave their TV on in the background all the time. And so some of us who are used to that kind of thing will really feel the difference. Set a timer and stick to it. Stick to that 10 minutes. Adopt a meditation practice. If you don't meditate now, sometime during this day, Sit for even 5 minutes and simply pay attention to your breath. Sit up straight in a chair, comfortably leaning back, whatever is comfortable for you. It can be on a chair, it can be on the ground. And simply start with a deep breath, a deep exhale, and then quietly just listen to your breath. You can count it. See how well you do for 5 minutes, simply paying attention to your breath. It's harder to do than some people are willing to put up with. And what I mean by that is I found meditation almost painful for the longest time because my mind wouldn't hold still. And so I would fight it and be frustrated, and it would make me very anxious. Don't do that. Let your thoughts pass through your mind like clouds in the sky. Thought. And go back to the breath. And keep breathing. You catch yourself onto something else, a story, because we play stories in our mind. A story, a shopping list, whatever. Let it go. Just let it go. And go back to the breath. And keep doing that over and over. Try it for 5 minutes. Try it for 10 minutes. Try it for a little longer. Do it sometime today. You may want to consider some help with that. And there are apps, and the apps are Headspace, Calm, a relatively new one called Relaxx, Relaxx. A lot of these, and I think all of these, are free. You can upgrade if you choose to get a little bit more out of them. And I always find a lot of those upgrades to be quite a deal. I just upgraded my I have a running app. It's like a GPS that tells me how far I've gone, and it gives me a lot of information, and it was free, and I was all right with it, but I wanted just a little bit more, so I upgraded it, and for, not that much, I have a lot more information, and that's the kind of thing that some of these will do. It has been proven, meditation has, to be a great benefit psychologically and for mental health. The neuroscientists, the neurologists like the Sherzais that I talk about a lot, this pair that run a lab at Loma Linda University Medical Center, will often recommend meditation to quiet your mind. Practice saying no to the demands of others. It's very easy for us to become, it's such a trite word to say, or phrase to say, people pleasers, but we sometimes believe that it's our job to be and do more than is good for us in terms of stress, in terms of even willingness. We'll quite often do things we don't even want to do because we think it's our job. Think about that and see what you can do to alleviate some of the things that have been put onto you or that you've accepted that perhaps is stressful or that you resent because it's become habitual of others to expect it of you to take it on. And that may require a conversation to take some of that, I'll call it a burden, off of you. Assert yourself when necessary. And then take advantage of stress relieving care, self-care. Things like massage, an Epsom salt bath. You do know that that's real. Epsom salts are magnesium, usually citrate, or chloride, or not chloride, chloride. And the magnesium actually does get into our body, and magnesium calms us down. Soak for, if you can, 20 minutes, 15 to 20 minutes, just relaxing, reading, or eyes closed, or meditating. I tend to keep putting in more hot water because I don't like getting really chilled as it chills down. But I love my Epsom salt baths. A couple of drops of lavender in there can help calm you down as well. You can diffuse essential oils. There are a number of essential oils like lavender, lemon balm, geranium, sage, grapefruit that are rather calming. And you get an inexpensive diffuser, put some water in it, put in some drops of essential oils, and that can help calm you down. Try journaling. Try writing down what's on your mind that you're ruminating about, or that you are excited about, or that you don't want to lose. In other words, thoughts, impressions that you don't want to miss. And things, once we experience them and new things come into our day and new days come into our week, we can miss sometimes these glorious moments that can actually calm us and make us happier if we acknowledge them. And that's where journaling can come in. It can get things off your mind. It can take things and crystallize them. And I found when I wrote my book and I was going through some painful times like the death of my first husband or just some younger years, I went back through journals, and it was really interesting how it's quite an experience to go through a journal that is 20 years old, 25 years old, and realize that some of those things were so poignant and still matter, but we didn't even remember them. And then I want to talk about breath work. And breath work is acknowledged by, again, neuroscientists, by where Ayurveda, for example, when you talk about yoga, Ayurveda is the ancient Indian practice of whole health, that it makes a difference because it affects our body and it affects our nervous system. You can think of breath work as simply as taking in a deep breath and letting it out. And it can be more specific. If you've heard this in one of my previous podcasts, you've heard of Dr. Andrew Huberman. Look for his videos on YouTube. He's a relatively young, he's 40, in his 40s. Really interesting guy. He's a neuroscientist with Stanford, and he has his own lab at Stanford, the Huberman Lab, and he studies breath, he studies the visual effect of vision on our brain, because he makes clear to anybody, to everybody in his lectures, that the eyes are actually part of the brain. They're a part of the brain that grew outside of the skull so that we could experience things that not just from feel, but actually from vision. And that the use of our eyes, and in some of his lectures, it's fascinating what they have found in terms of even focusing our vision in certain ways can affect our experience of reality. Well, one of the things he talks about to help, hi Charmaine, to help calm us down, and he said it's, to him, it's the first thing he would recommend to people. It's one of the most poignant ways for our breath to calm our body, and it's called a neurological sigh. And you can look this up, neurological sigh. And it's what our body does automatically in certain circumstances. In the middle of the night when our breathing has become too shallow and the carbon dioxide has built up too much in our bodies, we'll go, we'll catch ourselves. I've caught myself doing that when we cry. If we're just sobbing so hard we run out of breath, we'll breathe in like that. And that's a neurological sigh. Well, we can do that on purpose. 2 sharp inhales. And then let it out. And with that second inhale, we can even pull in just a little bit more air, and then a long, relaxed exhale. What does that do? there's something called alveoli in our lungs that are the little sacs. And sometimes they sort of collapse and there's not a lot of oxygen. When we pull in a breath, we inflate, pull it again, inflate it even more. And there's an oxygen exchange with carbon dioxide. We're pushing out the carbon dioxide. We're actually rebalancing our carbon dioxide and oxygen balance, and it's calming. It actually calms you. I have talked about this for quite a while, and a number of people have said, Nan, I'm practicing my physiological breaths sometimes several times in a day. I'll do it if I wake up in the middle of the night and I'm just too hyper, my mind is racing. I'll do a physiologic sigh. He says once or twice. This isn't something you do again and again. There is something that you can do a couple of times, several times, and it's something that Dr. Andrew Weil taught, and then we're going to be done. Dr. Andrew Weil taught, and he's an integrative health physician, and he's rather well known. He's the fellow with the big white sort of Santa beard, really great guy. And he talks about his breath work is the 4-7-8 method. It's 4 beats in, or it could be 4 seconds in. I call it 4 beats, 7-second hold or 7-beat hold, and 8 seconds relieved or 8 beats. When I first started doing this, sometimes it would make me a little breathless, and I would have to yawn, like in the middle of it. And he recommends it 4 to 5 times. So it looks like this. I'll use my fingers. Now, you're doing it 4 to 5 times. If it makes you lightheaded, if you run out of breath, you might not be breathing deeply enough in that 4, as opposed to, and you learn to do that. In the beginning, I would breathe kind of shallow with the 4, thinking that the 4 was kind of I didn't need the air. You need the air, but you're bringing it in more quickly, that's all. You get a volume of air in that 4 count. And then the 7 count, you're just holding it. And then the 8 count, you're letting out. And when you breathe in, you punch out your tummy. That's what you're pulling. You're pulling in breath that expands below your diaphragm. That means that you're doing diaphragmatic breathing as opposed to your chest. I'm not just breathing into my chest, I'm breathing in, I'm filling my belly. And you learn to do that in yoga, the yoga breath. And so when you're releasing air, you're pulling in your belly. Okay, so we have physiological sigh, we have a 4-7-8, and then there's one last thing I want to read you. I have this little book I bought decades ago. It's Zen, the Art of Happiness by Chris Prentice. And there was something in this that I read once, and it reminds me every time I'm letting stress get to me. And sometimes the stress is completely self-made. It's our perception of a situation and how we let it affect us. I'm not going to read it word by word, but I'll sort of paraphrase. Candace Pert, PhD, back in the 70s, was awarded, and I believe it was a Nobel Prize, for identifying the body's communication system that involved cell receptors, that every cell in our body has receptors, and those receptors are docking on those receptors can be, let me see if I can get this right. There are 3 chemical types that dock on the receptors: neurotransmitters, steroids, and peptides, and that's what we're talking about here. According to her, as many as 95% of the ligands, and it's the ligands that dock on them, may be the peptides. And the basic units of language used by our cells and our organisms across our systems, and of the endocrine, the neurological, the gastrointestinal, and even the immune systems, are based on those peptides and what our body reads from them. Now, this is the most important part. We now know that peptides are produced in the hypothalamus, that's up in the brain, an amazing gland in the center of the brain, and the type of peptide produced is preliminarily determined by what we think and feel. The hypothalamus produces peptides that duplicate every emotion you experience: anger, hate, sadness, frustration, depression, joy, enthusiasm, happiness. And the peptides are channeled to the pituitary gland from the hypothalamus, and then into the bloodstream, where they visit 20 to 30 million cells in our bodies. The peptides that dock onto the cells create minute physiological phenomenon that translate to large changes in our behavior, physical activity, and mood. And the peptides play by these rules. What she then goes on to say is that whatever the peptide tells our body is what that cell, and then the cells that divide from that cell, learn from that cell to expect. What she's saying is that whatever we're thinking, my ring, my husband just left from lunch, whatever we're thinking, whatever we're feeling, is going to create peptides that dock on a cell, that even when the cell divides, the cell gets used to that message that that peptide gave it. The cell is learning to be happy. And this is not as physiologically accurate as it could be, but I'm going to say this in lay terms. The cell learns to expect the happiness peptide, the sadness peptide, the tension peptide, and the cell behaves accordingly and actually becomes acclimated to that feeling. So what does all of this mean? I know, read the book. It's an inexpensive book. It's really good. And the whole book, what I'm reading you is only 2 to 3 pages in the book, but I just found this was fascinating. I actually put it in my book, pages 50 and 51. So, and then I'll stop talking. The most important part of this is that whatever you get used to experiencing, whether it's reality or the way you think about it, is the way you are going to be producing the peptides that then affect you on a cellular level. You've heard people say that you are what you think, you are what you believe, you are as successful as you think you're going to be. There's all of these things. This is the physiological reason why, that we, from our brain to every cell in our body, will respond to what we make up our mind to believe is real. It's not easy, but what I'm saying is, when you catch yourself going down a bad road, a downer road, we all get like this. If I'll use myself as an example, something recently disturbed me, it upset me, and for days I ruminated on it, and I had to keep saying to myself, Nan, you're producing peptides that are all about this negative thought, this kind of a sadness, this kind of a, I had this whole thing going, and it really bothered me, and it was a reality, but I had to change my thoughts about the reality. I had to find ways to rationalize from the other standpoint what this was about, to make it okay, to bypass maybe righteous indignation because it hurt nobody but me. And what I just read you has a lot to do with stress, because we can set ourselves up physiologically to keep dumping these things that we've gotten used to not the things that we're feeling, but the end result from it, we can get in a habit of a mindset. I know people that go from one trauma and drama and, you know, disappointment and anger to another because they've set themselves up for it. And there are people who, regardless of what's happening, will find the sunshine in the situation. That's one of the reasons in my book that I tell you I love sunflowers. They'll find the sun in the dimmest of light. They'll grow where nothing else will grow, and they'll be as strong as an ox, as opposed to a more delicate flower. So I think that's all I'm going to say about that, but I wanted to leave you with that as a point, because you can't stay calm if you have a habitual method of dealing with what comes into your mind if you don't realize the power you have to control it. And we have the power to control it. Meditation, deep breathing, intermittent silence, and knowing that these things really matter down to your core. Okay, do what you can with this. Let me know how it goes. Super caution with with diffusers. Oh, okay. Linda Kelch is saying be super cautious with diffusers. Some oils are toxic to animals. That's really interesting, Linda. And I don't know which ones they are. Okay, people. So if you've got animals around, I have a cat. My diffuser's right here in my office, but she comes in here sometime. I'm going to look into that. Thank you so much for that. And I think that's it. Okay, people. Thank you for joining me, and make it a great day, because I know I'm going to. Tomorrow is our last of the 6-day lifestyle medical pillar challenges, and I'd love to hear how you're doing. And tomorrow is about being present, and the theme is to consider and avoid risky substances to stay present in our everyday life. So I ran a little over. I'm so sorry. All right, take care. Bye-bye.